Welcome to another episode of Sweet Heat, and today we are making a Tex-Mex style enchiladas that my dad used to make me when I was little, and guess what? The nails are back. My dad actually used to work at this little Tex-Mex restaurant in the 1950s. It's not there anymore, but it had some really classic Tex-Mex dishes. One of the things that I used to love at that restaurant, and also that my dad makes, are the enchiladas. It's basically got almost like a chili gravy sauce. There's a little bit of toasted flour. It's made with chili powder, not dried chilies like I normally use. It's ground beef, lots and lots of cheese, and they're baked casserole style in the oven, which is again, very different than how you would find them here. And another thing that I'm gonna make are some very Porky refried beans. My father is an amazing bean cook. Also gonna make a little Pico de Gallo for a little bit of heat. The sweet in this dish, I have to admit, is not coming from the food. It's coming from the fact that I haven't seen my dad for 2 years. I was gonna go see him right before the pandemic started, and then I couldn't. And I came to Mexico, locked down here. He locked down in Texas, which is where I'm from and where he lives. So I just went on a whirlwind trip, flew down to Texas, hung out with my dad, met his dog Ruthie, which I'm super excited about. I love that dog so much. And so I decided that, because I had those amazing enchiladas in Texas, I wanted to show you how to make them so you could enjoy them as well. And as always, if you like me, if you like this recipe, if you like this series, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and you will be notified as soon as there's another Sweet Heat episode. In case you're wondering why the camera work on this episode is probably not as good as when Sebastian's here, it's because Sebastian is actually in San Diego getting his new camera, which will make this series even better. So he will be back next week for the next episode. It smells so good. Okay, so now I'm gonna make the Pico de Gallo. Super easy, it's just a couple of tomatoes and some onion, jalapeno, cilantro, salt, garlic. The end. Okay, so I'm leaving the seeds in the jalapenos as I chop them because I like heat. If you do not like heat, or you want it a little bit more on the mild side, I think the easiest way to take the seeds out is literally just cut it in half lengthwise, and take a spoon, start from the very top, and then just push it in and just scrape down. You will get out all the ribs, all the white pith, and all the seeds. Easy peasy. Okay, so now everything's chopped, everything's in this nice bowl. I'm going to add, I think I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of salt. My rule for salt is 1 teaspoon per pound of meat or vegetable. It doesn't really matter. And then just toss everything together. All the flavors are gonna meld, everything will come together. It's gonna be really, really delicious. So you can chill this, or you can leave it out at room temp. I think I'm gonna throw mine in the fridge because it's pretty warm here, and I want the cilantro to stay nice and bright. Okay, everything is prepped, so now we're gonna get started cooking. So the first thing I'm gonna do is toast the flour. It'll actually start to develop almost a hint of smoke, the nuttiness, a little bit of caramel. It's really, really delicious. You'll start to see little wisps of smoke. That is your cue that it's the right temperature, it's cooking, and then you just want to constantly keep it moving. And our flour is toasted. Okay, next step. Pan goes back on. I'm gonna add some delicious lard to my pan. I'm going to add my beef. Okay, so next we're gonna do the veg. I'm gonna add a little bit more lard because why not? I think the meat absorbed a little bit more than I anticipated. Okay, so now that the veg are cooked, I am going to add my spices. So that's all of my chili powder, and I've got some ground cumin, so I'm adding that in. And now just stir this in. I want to get a little bit of a toast on the spices. Whenever you add spices to a skillet, a hot skillet, you're gonna bloom the spices. You're gonna pull out all the essential oils. They're gonna get much more fragrant. And you just need to cook this for about a minute. And it's gonna go really beautiful and brick red, and it should be really fragrant, which it is. And so now I'm going to add my beef and any juices. I'm gonna add the toasted flour. And now I'm just gonna toss this all together. I wanna make sure before I add the liquid that all of this stuff is well coated. I wanna coat the beef in both the flour and any bits of the loose chili powder and spices. Okay, so this looks really good. Now I'm going to add 5 cups of chicken broth. So I'm gonna leave this on medium-high just until it comes to the boil, then I'm gonna reduce it down, and then we're just gonna let this simmer for about 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes, until it's really thick and rich and flavorful. The meat is cooked through and it's really tender and delicious. Okay, so while the chili meat is cooking, and it's actually almost done, I am going to work on the tortillas. So literally just dip a brush in some oil. 8 tortillas will take about 2 tablespoons of oil. All I'm gonna do is just put these down. I'll go 3 at a time. It's not gonna take that long, probably about 30 seconds to a minute per side. All that I want to do is get color on one side. So that's the level of toast that you want to see. And you can see it's a little bit smoky, but that's fine. And these are done now. Okay, everything's done. The cheese is grated, the tortillas have been waterproofed, the chili's ready to go. So now we're gonna assemble. So the first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna put about a cup of the sauce down the middle of my 13x9 baking pan. I am going to not fill this pan. I'm actually going to lay the enchiladas down in a single row down the center. I'm gonna grab a handful of cheese. Oh, actually, totally forgot something. Before we do the cheese, I need to dip these tortillas in the chili sauce. So all you need to do is just lightly coat them. This just ensures that they get a lot of flavor on all sides. The actual word enchilada means coated with chili sauce. You might have also heard of enfrijolada, and basically it's the same method, but instead of making a chili sauce, you make a bean sauce and you coat the tortillas with frijoles, or you can also do the same thing with mole, in which case it would be called enmoladas, or tomato sauce, entomatadas. Okay, so now everybody's coated. Now that everybody's coated, now I can grab a handful of cheese. This is about 3 tablespoons, but I'm not gonna measure, I'm just gonna eyeball and then just roll. And just put it right in the center. I am really stuffing these with cheese because I like cheese, and why not? Okay, so everybody's assembled, and I'm going to top the enchiladas with the remaining chili sauce. you just pour it over. Oh my God, these are gonna be so good. And then just finish the top with all of this delicious melty cheese. Oh, it's gonna be so ridiculously delicious. Okay, so now I'm gonna cover these with foil, pop them into a 425-degree oven for about 15-20 minutes. All that I wanna do is melt the cheese and cook them through. Everything is like cooked already. The only thing that needs to happen is the flavors need to come together and that cheese needs to melt. In about 15 minutes, they'll be done. I'll uncover it, leave them in there for another 5 minutes just to get a little bit of browning on top of the cheese. I don't want to go crazy. I just want like really, really melty cheese with a little bit of brown on the top.
There's my mother's bean pot. I don't know how old it is.
Where did she get it? Do you know?
Who knows? I was a little boy then. Yeah.
So this pot's about 150 years old. So what all do you put in the beans?
This is going to have onion and bell pepper and garlic and salt bacon, pure salt bacon.
What's the difference between salt bacon and regular bacon?
It's cured with salt. Well, I have to cover it and let it boil, and then when it's boiling, then I'll turn it down. We started about 11, so about 1:30 it'll be ready.
Wow. How long has that been?
An hour.
Look good. Okay, while the enchiladas are in the oven, I'm going to show you how I make refried beans. So I've done this before on another episode, but I think it's definitely worth repeating because they're so incredibly delicious. Last time I made black beans. Today I'm going to use pinto beans because that's normally what you would find in Texas. That's what my dad uses. That's what I grew up with. So this skillet is super, super hot. I'm going to add my lard to the skillet. And it's going to immediately start to sizzle. And so in the recipe, I call for the beans and their liquid. So if you're using canned, just dump the whole can with the liquid. If you're using fresh, then you want to add a little bit of the liquid in there. You also need to stand back at this point because you saw there were wisps of smoke coming off of this pan. It's coming off of the oil now. I'm gonna stand back and I'm just gonna pour everything in. It's best to just kind of do it really quickly. And now what we're gonna do is just let this cook down. There's so much flavor in the liquid. I wanna cook this down for about 5-10 minutes and reduce the liquid. It's gonna concentrate all of that really delicious bean flavor. And then I will start to mash. All right, so the beans are looking really good. They're nice and reduced. You can see the sauce is thickened up a little bit. Okay, so grab your potato masher. I'm using this really cool bean smasher. And it's gonna seem very watery at first. The beans are gonna thicken up as they cook and as you reduce more of the liquid. And you can do these in advance. My dad actually will make a skillet full of refried beans and then freeze them. And so there's always refried beans whenever you get the craving, which when I go home, I'm always craving his refried beans. So you can see it's starting to thicken up now. You see that they're still pretty loose, but I'm gonna turn the heat off. And then as they sit, they will continue to thicken. And if they get too thick on you, then you can always add a little bit more water or more bean juice if you have it. But they look really creamy right now. And this is my Tex-Mex style cheese enchiladas with refried beans and pico de gallo. Oh my God, it's finally time. Oh, and the nice thing about like shooting by myself is I've had to shoot so many beauties that I know that this is not super hot anymore, so I can eat it without fear that I'm gonna burn my mouth. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Wow. Oh my God. I kind of wasn't expecting that. It is kind of ridiculously over the top. I mean, not like my normal dishes on this show aren't kind of over the top too, but the cheese, like you get the chili first. It's like really meaty, really rich, kind of creamy. And then all of a sudden you get this tang from the cheese and it's like melty. And you can still taste and actually get the texture of the tortilla, which I really like a lot. And then you get this nice cool Pico de Gallo, which has a little bit more kick, but then the tomatoes are, I don't know, you get like a little bit of freshness and the cilantro actually cuts through everything. They are so incredibly delicious. You have to try this dish. Make sure you make it with everything. The Pico de Gallo and the beans. This is a complete meal. This is the combo that just kind of melts my heart. Beans, enchiladas, Pico de Gallo. It's so incredibly delicious. I hope you enjoyed this dish. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, this show, this episode. And make sure you hit like and subscribe so that you will be notified every time there's a new episode of Sweet Heat. Okay, I don't know why this always happens, but I always get new shirt deliveries whenever I'm shooting. I really like wearing a different shirt each episode, so that means I probably need to get a bigger closet one day. But, so I'll give you a little preview of what's coming next. This, which I really like. I like that color a lot. These are melons, which I think are also really pretty. These are lemons, so nice and bright. Of course, more blue, more flowers, obviously. And then this are really cool little parrots, which I really like a lot. So that's a preview of the next episodes. The next, 5 episodes? Stay tuned.